Pomp and circumstances ringing through the air across high schools across the country, which means it's graduation season, which also means it's official visit season in the world of college football, which also means it's time for new head coaches in the Big Ten and their coaching staffs to really lay the groundwork for future success in the Big Ten Conference. Before I get into the video, just a reminder to subscribe if you haven't already. Big Ten content all offseason long. Always crush that like button to spread the word of Big Ten TED to the masses. You know, when you think of the month of June throughout the college football calendar, some people might think of it little as a dead month, right? Because you end the season in January, recruiting, signing day is in December and in February as well. Then you get into spring ball, the spring transfer period is in there as well. Your spring games are in April and May. And then you maybe, let's take a break. Let's take a deep breath kind of thing in June. No. College football is 24/7. 365. Everybody on this channel knows it. Everybody across the country knows it. That's why we love college football so much, because there's always something going on. And there is a bunch going on in June, especially for new coaching staffs that want to build a successful program for the future. This first really full recruiting class for new coaching staffs within the Big Ten and across the country is so huge to really set the tone of the program that you want to become going forward. I'm going to talk a lot about Wisconsin. I'm going to talk a lot about Nebraska in this video, but I want to briefly mention the Purdue Boilermakers and Ryan Walters, because June is a very interesting month going forward for Purdue football. I think offensively, they're going to attract the same type of talent that they have in the past. I don't know offensively if things are going to change a ton for the Boilermakers, but defense, things are changing, of course, with Ryan Walters coming in as head coach and, of course, Kevin Kane coming with him from the University of Illinois. Coy Beasley is a name to watch out for, a four-star corner that's going to visit later on in June, coming to Purdue. This is probably one of their top targets on the defensive side. We're going to find out how good of a recruiter Ryan Walters is. Kevin Kane is that defensive coaching staff. Can they attract more defensive talent to Purdue than just the offense that they've attracted in years past? I think that's something to keep an eye on. But I'm really going to focus on Nebraska and Wisconsin as it pertains to the month of June and as it pertains to official visits, because these are two head coaches. These are two programs that want to recruit really well and want to be developmental programs, right? When we talk about politicians, you talk about campaign promises, right? These are two guys in their, maybe their campaign, their initial campaign speech, right? They talked about recruiting kids and developing kids. You know, you go to the portal, you know, when you first come onto campus because you want to shape the team in your image right away. That's kind of how you do it. But over time, these coaches have said they want to recruit. They want to keep kids here. Recruiting is still the lifeblood of this program and other programs across the country. Luke Fickell and Matt Rhule have proven at other destinations that they can develop a lot of good talent if that talent stays at home. So first, I want to talk about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Boy, you talk about keeping talent at home, that is going to be key in the month of June, because they're going over to grandma's house. You're out of school. You're in June. School's out for summer. You go over to grandma's house and you get some home cooking. That's exactly what's happening right now for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, because they've got a lot of home cooking coming to Lincoln, Nebraska, coming to see Memorial Stadium, coming to see all the sites for official visits in the month of June, specifically June 23rd. You got to take a look at a kid, Carter Nelson. When you talk about keeping kids in the state of Nebraska, when Matt Rhule first got hired as head coach, he tweeted, "I'm going to this town, I'm going to that town, I'm going up and down I-80, and I am visiting high school football coaches, trying to establish relationships across the state of Nebraska." Okay, and a lot of high school coaches said, yeah, it's been a minute since that happened from a Cornhusker head coach. So props to you, Matt Rhule, for doing that. June 23rd could be the start of the fruits of that labor. You have Carter Nelson, the top player in the state of Nebraska, tight end. We know how much more Matt Rhule and this offense wants to use the tight end. This is a very, very similar situation. I think to Thomas Fedoni, he was very highly rated local area, even though he was across the border in Council Bluffs. This is a very similar situation with Carter Nelson. I think this is a very key recruit. This is a very key visit for Nebraska there on June 23rd. You know what else is a key? Not necessarily players, but a specific high school may be key to the future for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and that's Bellevue West. Bellevue, a southern suburb of Omaha. You got 4-star wide receiver from Bellevue West, Davon Hall, coming in, 3-star wide receiver Isaiah McMorris coming in, and that is combined with a guy who just flipped his commitment from Missouri to Nebraska, quarterback Daniel Kalen, who a lot of people believe might be the future at the quarterback position after Jeff Sims, possibly at the University of Nebraska. Matt Rhule and this coaching staff is really establishing connections across the state. Now, you recruit Nebraska alone and that's your main recruiting ground. Yeah, you're probably not going to put elite teams on the field. But a lot of times, especially in the Omaha area, there are good 4-star kids coming out. You look at Malachi Coleman, I think he was Lincoln East, I believe he was. But there are good 4-star type of talent that come out of Omaha, that come out of Lincoln. Establishing those relationships are key. And we're going to find out how much those relationships have paid off with maybe these official visits. Boy, if he could lock up guys like a Carter Nelson, maybe Davon Hall, and maybe some of these other local kids out of Nebraska, that's going to really set the tone. That's going to really send the message to the rest of the state that say, hey, we want to keep our kids home in the Cornhusker State. And then you want to kind of go out into surrounding areas and start to get in there as well. The top player in the state of Iowa, 4-star interior offensive lineman Grant Bricks, is also visiting Nebraska in June. So being able to go into a rival state and grab some toughness, grab some grit out of the state of Iowa, maybe something that the Hawkeyes are known for, would be huge for the Cornhuskers. We're going to find out just how much work Nebraska really has done in establishing those relationships. Will that work? Will those relationships pay off with Nebraska with some good old home cooking? We are certainly going to find out. Now let's maybe go up north a little bit. Let's head to Madison, Wisconsin. I love me some Madison, Wisconsin. Now Madison, we've been talking about the offense, right, for the Wisconsin Badgers, and offense is doing pretty good. Maybe as it's attracted as much talent both in the transfer portal and maybe recruiting as has ever been attracted on the offensive side of the ball for the Wisconsin Badgers. You look at the transfer class that they've brought in, and then you take a look at what may be the quarterback of the future in Mabry Matoyer. He is a very talented guy, depending who you ask, high 3-star, maybe lower 4-star type of kid, but he's committed here to the class of 2024. And because of where they feel maybe their confidence level is as an offense, I feel like Luke Fickell is turning his focus in the class of 2024 and in June to building what he knows best, building a great defense and bringing the pieces in place into Madison, Wisconsin to be able to do that. You look at 4-star defensive lineman Benedict Ume, top 60 player in the country. Like, there are players that are coming to visit Madison. They're recruiting with the Michigans, the Penn States. They're recruiting against those type of teams, and getting official visits during this time to Madison, Wisconsin, I think is very big for Luke Fickell and his coaching staff. You look at 4-star edge rusher Dominic Nichols is in there as well. I saw lots of 3-stars sprinkled in there. You know, what one thing I really look at when I look at Luke Fickell and what he's trying to build, and this was a big visit weekend this last weekend, you got some guys sprinkled in there throughout the month of June, but this past weekend was big for Wisconsin. The next week, maybe 2 weeks, we're really going to find out how big of a visit weekend that really was this past weekend if we get more commits to the University of Wisconsin. But I feel like for Luke Fickell on the defensive side of the ball, you have a bunch of 3-stars, a couple 4-stars, maybe the occasional 5-star on defense. Luke Fickell's going to build his team. Luke Fickell's going to be just fine developing, finding players that fit. Like, you look at a kid like Sauce Gardner that didn't have a ton of stars, right, coming out of high school, and look what he developed into. Maybe one of the best players that Luke Fickell coached during his time at Cincinnati, right? So I trust, like, you look at both Matt Rhule and Luke Fickell, you throw top 20 to top 25 classes their way, they both will develop those classes, I think, to get where they want to go. I want to hear what you guys think. How big of a deal do you view as June in terms of official visits? Can Wisconsin and Nebraska lay the groundwork? Are we going to see a lot of Husker and Badger commitments? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Big Ten Ted. We will see you in the next one.